Hey, mess makers. Before we dive into today's episode, I just wanted to take a moment to personally invite you to join the Messy mailing list. This is where I will be dropping exclusive content, including tools, sneak peeks on what's coming up, and I want to hear from you guys. So if you have any questions or thoughts, this is your way to get interactive with me and with Inside Out. So make sure you head over to the show notes to sign up, and I'm super excited to get messy with you guys. All right, back to the episode. Welcome to the Inside Out podcast. I'm your host, Jojo, and this is where we will navigate the mess together. That is mental, emotional, and spiritual. Let's get messy. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Inside Out. Happy Wednesday. You guys, this episode is uniquely special to me because I'm very lucky to be sitting with one of my best friends. And, well, you're going to learn a lot about her today. And I'm sure I'm going to learn about her too. Her name is Chelsea McCloskey. She's a Pilates teacher, a Rumble instructor, and a former Knicks dancer. We met about 4 years ago because I was stalking her, taking all of her Pilates classes all over the Hoboken area. I was obsessed with her. I was like, we're going to be friends. And the friendship just budded and bloomed from there. So you guys, help me welcome Chelsea. Chelsea, welcome to Inside Out.
I'm like already going to cry. I love you so much.
I love you. I'm so happy you're here. And you have so many exciting things that you're building, that you're working towards. And your transformation over the last 4 years of me knowing you have been so pivotal, so beautiful. You've really come into your own. And I think people need to hear really who you are, because we see you running around. You know everybody in this beautiful little square mile we live in, and you really are just a ball of sunshine and radiate total light. But people don't know your story. Mm-hmm. And that's what I want to get out there, and really like who you are to your core, not just what people see on the outside, but who you are on the inside. So again, thank you for coming, being open and vulnerable, even wanting to do this, because this is a lot.
We're getting messy.
We're getting messy, baby.
I'm so excited. And it's like, I was thinking about it before. This is such like a pivotal moment for me, because I just remember us talking about this as like a potential journey for you. And now that I get to sit here and like be on this podcast with you and watch this magic and now be a part of it, I'm just so proud of you. The way that I've watched you transform and grow before my eyes. And I'm just so honored to be here and get to take these conversations that, like I said, as soon as you started this and like listening to the podcast, I'm like, this just feels like our conversations. This feels like we are out to dinner and we're getting in to the mess of our lives and like helping each other through it. And it's been such a blessing to watch this. And I'm so glad that so many people get to experience you in this way. And yeah, I'm excited.
Oh my God. Well, I guess we're both going to be crying.
Yeah. No, I'm going to cry.
You just are making me emotional too. This is not about me. This is about you.
Oh,
So I want you to walk us through the last, well, let's say like 6-ish years, because when I met you, you had just stopped dancing for the Knicks and you started working at a Pilates studio, and you're about to open your own studio, which is the cherry on top of all of this. But what has the last 6 years really looked like for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's so wild. So I went to school for dance. All I know my whole life was always dancing. And my goal was to be a Knicks City dancer. And so that was like a really strong focus of my life for years. And I had auditioned 4 times, and it's crazy in the NBA world. Like you have one audition a year that is your chance to get on that team. And so most of your year is prepping for that moment. And fitness has always been a part of my life. Even before I was on the Knicks, I was teaching at a fitness studio in the city called 305 Fitness. And that was like my intro into it. It was dance cardio. It's still in the city. They're absolutely amazing. So dear to my heart, because that was like my first intro into teaching fitness. And so I was doing that. I was also teaching Pilates after the pandemic, and it was my 4th time auditioning for the Knicks, and I did it and I made it. And that moment will always teach me, like that will always be my pivotal point, that it's like I can do whatever I set my mind to. Like that was really such a strong takeaway for me of that whole experience. And so I had made the team. It was everything I dreamed of and more. The girls were absolutely amazing. Like, they're still my sisters. And it was one of the most challenging experiences of my life. And it had changed me in so many ways. And I was on the team for a year and saw that being my life. Like, that was what I saw. I saw that being a part of my life for the next like 5+ years, like maybe one day being a captain and just like taking on that role. And that was kind of like it. Like, I saw that and then I was like, okay, and then I'll get married and have kids. Like, that was kind of all I saw for myself. And things shifted a little bit once I was getting ready for my second year and the branding had changed and we had found out that the Knicks City Dancers, as I knew, was no longer going to be what I had trained for, what I had worked for, and what I was a part of. So when that opportunity was almost like pulled away from me, it really felt like a death in my world. Like, I was so dramatic about it, but it was everything that I wanted. And I was so proud of myself and I was so excited. And I saw so much more potential for my career in that way. And so I had no idea where my life was headed. And I kind of sat in that for a moment and I really grieved. I mean, dancing since I was 3 years old and then now being like, okay, now what? I didn't know. And I was very lost. I was so lost and just kind of thinking like, why is this what's happening? Like, I work so hard. I feel like I put that good energy out. Like, why me? Why is this happening? And it's so wild looking back onto it and just the way that everything has worked out. But I was teaching Pilates throughout being a Knicks dancer. And so like I dove into that. I started teaching in Hoboken and it was so wild after the Knicks as well. I had gotten an opportunity to teach at Rumble. And the opportunity came to me and I was like, I have no idea how to box. I've never boxed a day in my life. I was like, what is going on? And the way that, and we can get into it later, but the way that my faith and the way that God has like really led my journey, it's just like so wild to think about it from where I am now. But that job like fell into my lap and I was like, okay, I'm going to be a boxer now. So I got boxing lessons and I just like I loved everything about it. I loved learning about it. I loved the technique on it. I loved how strong I felt doing it. I loved how strong physically I meant doing it, but also mentally. Like, it just like put me in this really like fighter mentality of like, okay, like let's do the damn thing. Like, that was just like what led me. And that brought me into this huge community of Hoboken that I was spending my days seeing at sometimes like 100 people a day, whether it was teaching Pilates or teaching at Rumble. And I just felt so blessed to get to know all of the people of Hoboken. And that's kind of like where my journey led me. And it's so crazy because when I was on the Knicks, like, it was such a beautiful experience, but I was a little bit sheltered in the sense of like my focus was like me, the choreography, the cracks in the spaces on court, and the 25 girls that I was with. There was no world outside of that. And it was almost like this, like, not self-centered, but I was just kind of blinded to the world around me. And that was my focus. And now looking at what my life has transpired to, the community that I get to be around and the people that I get to be around and the things that I get to do and the way that I get to like help people's lives, it just feels like I'm really able to step into my purpose and I'm able to like give more. And it has led to such a fulfilling journey.
I love that. And I really want to just underscore, double click and highlight what you just said about it was very self-focused being a dancer. And even though you were on a team, even though it was like a bigger picture situation, in the career that you're stepping into or the career that you're building for yourself and the life that you're building for yourself, it's so much more in line with you because you are such a giver. You are literally the most giving person I've ever met.
I love you.
And I'm not just saying that. Like, you're always there for everyone at the drop of a hat, sometimes even to your own downfall and your own demise, because you just have all of this positivity. And you know, we've seen it in men taking your light from you and dating, and like they just see this sparkly, beautiful little ball of sunshine. They're like, how can I have some of that light on me? But that's just naturally who you are. And I think you embracing this side of you, it just, like you said, it is your purpose. It is your passion. It really just encapsulates your soul. And I think that's such a beautiful thing, because being in alignment with really who you are on the inside that wasn't dance. Yes, you love dance, and that's never going to stop. You are
Mm.
still going to dance your little heart out down the street. If you see Chelsea walking down the street, she's going to be bopping and dancing, doing something. Like, she's never not going to be like wiggling and moving.
Facts.
But and that's still your essence, but it's not in the way that you can give back to a community. And I think that's why that's so beautiful, like what you're building and what you've been building. Like, you didn't even know that you were in your wildest dreams. You've even said to me, you didn't know that Teaser, your studio that you're opening in July, was even going to be something possible. Like, it wasn't even on your radar.
Totally. Yeah, it's so crazy. And we've talked about this a bunch of times. Like, I was stuck, and I was limiting myself of what I was capable about.
Stuck.
I was limiting myself. Getting married and having a family has always been something that I really want, and I feel so called to. It's been interesting to allow myself to want more and to have more.
Ooh, allow yourself to want to have more.
And so in this opportunity, and we can get into it more, but when it came to me, we've talked about it. I've talked about it with my family and with my closest friends, and I just always said no because I didn't think I was capable. I limited myself.
That baffles me.
I know. Now, like, being on the other side of it is still, even in the beginning, I'm just amazed by it all. But
you're just very humble.
I didn't think that, like, I was a businesswoman. I didn't think that I was, like, smart enough to do any of these things. I was kind of just waiting for some guy to come in and, like, save the day. And I know, I was just like, yep, I'm just gonna, like, do my thing. I'm gonna teach my classes. I'm gonna bop around, and, like, I'll find a guy, we'll get married and have kids. And I feel like it's so weird because I feel like this has been God working in my life. Like, all of my people, and I, like, get emotional when I talk about it, but it's like, so many times people in my life have been like, you're made for so much more. Like, there's so much more in you. Like, you have such a purpose and such a power and such an impact on the lives around you that, like, I was cutting myself short, and I was cutting short the gifts that God has given me. And so I just kept saying no. And then it got to this point where, like, everything was so clear, and, like, I couldn't say no anymore. And the way that taking on this journey and, like, stepping into this, like, side of me, I've been, like, blown away by the things that I'm able to do and the way things are moving, that I'm just so grateful for. And I'm realizing that, like, yes, I can have those things, and I will have those things, and I'm still, like, meant to be a mom and meant to be a wife, and I can't wait for that part of my life and that season. But, like, I am meant to be, like, giving the gifts that I have, like, and impacting the people around me. Totally. And in my situation, like, that's through fitness, and that's through, like, building a community. And so I'm just, like, so grateful that the people around me have always, like, believed in that side of me, even, like, when I didn't see it.
Totally. And to go back to what you said about, like, a guy kind of coming in and saving you, that is such a real feeling. For years, I felt that way, that, oh, like I'll be happy when, or if, or that person is going to come into my life and everything's going to be better. And we know this and we see this, and being on the other side of that, you realize that's not the case. And, like, our happiness does come from within, and aligning with our purpose and figuring out what that is, and believing in ourselves, and navigating the limiting beliefs and all of the pain points that come with that. Because you can't just be like, oh, well, I see that, like, I don't feel like I'm smart enough, or I'm good enough, or I'm a businesswoman. But then to push through that's where the transformation happens. And
totally.
I think there's a lot of, like, fear that comes up with that, and uncertainty. And I mean, you even were, when I met you, you were in a long-term relationship. You were living with someone. You were with him for 4 years. Yeah. And you walked away from that. And even though you were like, I want this and I want a family, and, like, he could, and all of the things could have, but they weren't it. They weren't grounded in your essence, because truthfully, and I think you would probably say the same thing, if you stayed in that, you wouldn't be here.
100%. I was just thinking that. And, like, looking back on all the relationships that I've had, like, yeah, I'm so grateful for my, like, past self for not knowing what's ahead, but knowing better than to like stay in what I was, and like some situations toxic, as we know, but like some situations it was like simply just like not the right thing, and like knowing better for myself. And obviously like you were there with me through that whole journey. And it's a scary thing, especially when your goal is to get married and your family wants that life for you and like all the things, and to walk away from something like that and not know where you're going with it is like so scary and takes like such a strong sense of self. But exactly what you said, like if I had stayed in any of my past relationships, I know for a fact I would not be doing any of this. And so I'm just like so grateful that I've been led in this way.
It's so interesting because at like some point you have to be able to let go of a dream to make space for a new one. And that applies to a relationship. Sometimes you need to walk out of a door of something that's comfy, that could be good, that like has some of the things. If you know you're built and meant and made for more, you have to let go of that. And you know, there was a point where you had to be like, okay, dance isn't it. I remember you were auditioning for the Nets.
Yeah. So right after I had found out that, you know, the Knicks wasn't what it was going to be and what I was a part of, and we were released from the job, I was like, all right, I need to keep dancing. Like, I just thought in my mindset, I was like, there's no way that I've worked this hard and got to this point in my life to just stop. Like, it didn't even feel realistic. It didn't feel possible. It felt like so silly. And so, I also love the Nets, and it's like a little bit different style than what I was training for, but I love that team as well, and like have friends on the team. And so I went right to there, and it was really interesting. I had made it to the end of that audition process, and it was only like a few weeks after finding out. So like, obviously I'm still brokenhearted. I had just come off of like the best season and making my dreams happen and like being with my team and building these relationships with these girls and like focusing on this specific dance genre and like really progressing in that. And then all of a sudden I have to like switch up what I'm doing and my mindset, my body, all the things. And so I went to that audition, and they could just tell that like I was not checked out, but I was, you know, hurt. And so my feedback was just to take some time to heal and to like really set my intentions. And like, you know, obviously like as a dancer, that's so hard to hear, because I was like, well, I want to dance and I need to make money. Like, this is still a job at the end of the day. And I knew that I was capable of doing it. And I knew that like, you know, obviously like I was upset, but I would have pivoted and like, I just would have made it work. And so that was really like a challenge for me. And so I spent that year and I really sat with it. I continued to teach, and I went back the following year, and I was cut on the second day, which was, you probably remember that day.
I know.
I was just like so shocked and so hurt. But I was just praying that like, if this is meant for me, it will be. And if it's not, then I will be released from it. And like, you know, as a dancer, you don't typically get answers of why. And like, I still don't know. Obviously, like I have my guesses. And like that day I like didn't perform my best, and I was like stressed and all the things. I took that as like a sign that day of like, okay, this is not my journey anymore. And I felt, obviously I was like brokenhearted because it's a closing of a chapter, but like there was some sense of like peace with it. And I've still done like some dance, you know, gigs here and there and performing. And it's been so lovely, actually. I took one of my best friend Madeline's dance classes at Broadway Dance Center like a few months ago. It was the first dance class that I had taken in a while, almost a year. And like for me, that's like crazy because that's all I knew. And I was always taking dance classes. And it was like such kind of this refreshing feeling of being able to dance and like feeling this freedom and peace with it, where like I wasn't doing it for anyone else. I wasn't doing it for like someone else's approval or anything, or like if I did this perfect or like how I looked. It just like was for me, and it was such a beautiful moment. And it really showed me my fear going into that class was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to take this. I'm going to like wish I was doing this. And I felt such a peace in where I was in my journey. And it was interesting too. One of my friends had taken me to the Knicks game a few months ago as well. And I hadn't been to a Knicks game. I hadn't been to MSG since, you know, my last game as a Knicks dancer. And I throughout the journey of the past few years of being released from that team, it came with a lot of heartbreak. It came with a lot of bitterness. It came with a lot of like anger and confusion and all the things. And, it's been this really long healing journey. And I wasn't sure how I was going to feel like stepping back there and like watching. I still have friends on the team and like being able to cheer them on and like watching it. And it was such a beautiful moment for me because I was like, wow, like that's where I've been and like look at where I'm going. Like I was just so excited for the future and so excited for what I'm doing and feeling so grateful for the opportunities that I've had. That I'm like, that's always going to be something that I did. And like I said before, like that opportunity showed me I can do anything I put my mind to. But I was so happy to be in that headspace of like, okay, this is a beautiful thing to celebrate and a beautiful time in my life to celebrate. But like, let's go after this big new dream.
So how did this big new dream come?
It's weird because I don't even feel like I dreamt for it. Like I said, like I kept limiting myself. I kept saying, I can't. And my now business partner, Phoebe, she was the one that, came to me and was like, Chels, I'm having these dreams. We're going to open a Pilates studio. And I was just like, Phoebe, I don't know. Like, I was just like, no, like, I can't. I'm not capable.
Phoebe was a client.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
And she just kept like, just like these little tiny like nuggets of like, are you sure? Like, just like, let's just talk about it. Let's just talk about it. I kept saying, no. And now looking back on it, it was just coming from a place of fear and doubt. And
we limit ourselves so much with those two things.
Yeah.
So much.
And so I remember, so let's bring it back. My best friend, David, known as the Pilates unicorn. David and I went to college together. So it's been some years and we danced together and his journey led him into Pilates and he's just incredible. And the way that he continues to learn and the information that he just like keeps pouring in. And like, I could spend a whole other podcast talking about him. Love him so much. He's the one that has taught me everything in Pilates. He was the one that was like, Chelsea, you gotta like get on board with this. Cause like, this is going to change some lives. And like, I think he just knew like Pilates mixed with like my energy, and like my teaching ability was just going to soar. And then his sister, Maggie, who her and I joined our Pilates journey together and trained through him. When we first started teaching, we were teaching with him. He was the lead instructor at a club Pilates, and me, Maggie, and David were all teaching together, and it was so much fun and just like getting to bounce ideas and like learn from each other. It was an incredible experience.
And this was like 5 years ago because this was before I met you.
Yeah.
So,
this was right before I met you.
Just for a timeline perspective. So it was the Knicks, you doing this as well.
Yeah, this actually started before the Knicks.
Oh, okay.
So during the pandemic was when we started like diving into all the Pilates stuff and getting my certification. Mm-hmm. And then from there, like as soon as things started opening, like the timing was just so perfect in the way that like stuff started opening up. Pilates was like a really one of the earlier things to open up because it was like you had your space and you were a little bit more secluded. And at the time I was still teaching 305 fitness, which is like in a basement, you're sweating it on top of everybody. Like it was just, I was teaching it live streams like from my living room. So Pilates just seemed like a little bit easier thing to get back into. And so as things started opening up, I like dove right into that. I was like, all right, let's go. Yeah. So I was doing that. Knicks was happening, then it happened at the same time. And then I continued that after the Knicks was when I transitioned into Hoboken full time, teaching Pilates. And so like the three of us kind of like dispersed. David was taking on just like really honing in on his teacher training and like building other teachers and working privately from his home and his studio that he's created. And then Maggie has been doing her thing, bouncing around in different studios in the area as well. And so he had always said that he wanted to start obviously his studio and he wanted to focus first on his teacher training and on like really taking in as much information as he could so that when it came time for that, he was really strong and secure and aligned with like what he was teaching, how he was teaching it, and the type of studio that he wanted to bring. And so I always was like, obviously I'll be a part of that when it's time. But, you know, I think when we had talked about it, it always was just like this really far out future endeavor. And so I remember having a conversation with him and Maggie, just like during one of our sessions, just like briefly talking about it. And I was in the car with my dad on my way back home for the holidays.
How long ago was this?
This was in December, so right
so
for Christmas.
6 months ago. Great.
Yep. And like, I remember talking to my dad about it, and he was just like immediately getting so excited. And I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, I don't even know if this is the potential. Like, this would be farther down the line. Like, I don't want to, like, I just like shut down. Like, it was like fear was shutting down. I was like, no, 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 I don't want to talk about it. And so I get back from the holidays, and here comes Phoebe again. And she's like, Chelsea, let's just go to coffee. Let's go to lunch, and let's just talk about it. Like, no pressure. Let's just talk it out. So we have this conversation, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, okay, like, I kind of like what this is sounding like. And conveniently enough, I was headed right from that lunch. I hopped in an Uber and I went to David's because we were having a session. And I go to David's, backtrack to my conversation with Phoebe. I was saying to her, I cannot even entertain this conversation without bringing David and Maggie into this. David's the one that taught me everything I know. I don't want to do anything without him. And like, as friends, also his expertise, like, I just know that the three of us together, all of our different strengths.
You know, not everyone's like this.
What?
I just have to cut you off because sometimes people get an opportunity like that and they run with it and they leave the people who helped them get there behind. And that's exactly the opposite of who you are. And that goes back to what I was saying before about like, you are just so giving. Like, you don't need to do half the stuff you do. This is you, like your essence. And you want to bring people into your journey and build people up along the way. Chelsea, the world needs more of you.
I love you. Thank you for saying that. I guess that's just how, you know, my mindset works, but it's like he taught me like everything about Pilates, you know, and it's like, yes, my energy and my personality and like my gifts are this perfect marriage to it, but I still like wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for him being like, hey, like, you should do this with me. And
that's complete circuitry, because if you cut off the reason you have your blessings, you are literally stopping the light force coming through you. You have to remember what you're from. And if a lot of which is beautiful. I love that you're crediting him, and as he should be. He's amazing. But again, people don't think that way. And I think it's such a beautiful and powerful way to even, like, I didn't even think this was going to come up, but to really understand where your blessings came from so that you don't ever go without them.
I love that so much. Yeah, that's like kind of what this process feels like. It just like feels like this like circular energy of like everything coming together. And so I said that to Phoebe, and I was like, I'm going to go see them right now. And she was like, talk to them. Like, and she was like, by any means, if like energy's not matching or whatever, everything needs to be in alignment for this to be correct. And I was so grateful that everyone felt that way about it. So I get in an Uber and I go to David's, and I'm just like texting him. I'm like, oh my gosh, we have to talk. And so I get there, and I explained it to him. And honestly, my mindset was, I was just expecting, because we've had, between the three of us, we've always had people just like bopping up every now and then being like, I want to invest in you. Like, what, did you have your own studio? All these things. And it just like was never the right time. It was never the right fit. It was almost like, you know, throwing money out, but there was nothing else backing it, or like, so
timing is everything, and trusting the process in that is so important, because people just want to outcomes like this all the time. And if you just pause and understand there is a process, there's a purpose in the process, or a process in the whatever the way it is.
No, that was good. Purpose in the process.
You need to plant the seed. It needs to have roots in any situation. You can't just be like, and a rose in soil and grow. Like, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah. So I will never forget this moment. I go to David's and I just like word vomit everything, like, like telling him all the things that we just talked about. And he's like quiet for a moment, and he just like looks at me, and he was like, Chelsea, it's time. And I literally, I got full body chills because I literally, like, excuse my language, but like, I was like, oh shit. And it just felt like that. I just knew in that moment, no, you can't cry, because then I'm going to cry. I just like felt in that moment, like, here we go, like, buckle up, because this is it. And we were just like, okay. So like, step one, we all needed to meet. Step two, Phoebe's also an incredible realtor in town. And so she had lined up all these spots and was like, let's just look, like, no pressure. I don't know. It's probably like 9 p.m. at night on a Sunday. And we all meet for the first time, and like, vibes are vibing. Everyone just like, it just like felt, every moment of this has just felt so right. and we go to a bunch of places. And then the last spot we go to, the lights aren't even on. We can't turn the lights on. It's pitch black. And the inside was like, it was an old health center and like very run down, and it was not cute or aesthetic by any means. And we're just like walking around in the dark, and we just like all looked at each other and we're like, if we're doing it, this is it. And that night, I mean, you're going to laugh, but this is like me. I didn't even own a laptop. I'm just not that. I'm just like, I'm not that girl. I didn't have a laptop. I'm not like everything I do. I'm bouncing around. I'm on my phone. I'm whatever. And so people's like, all right, we're going to see what the opportunity is here. And I need you guys to write a business plan. And so it just like went from 0 to 100. And the three of us kept saying to each other, if it's meant to be, it's going to be. And we're not going to force it. And whatever the yeses we get, great. And if not, it's just not the right time. So I Amazon Prime overnight a laptop. We're like up until 2 a.m, writing these business plans, literally have no idea what we're doing, but we're just like figuring it out. Like they have another brother, John, who was super helpful in the process, and just like using all of our people that we feel comfortable with sharing this and just like getting as much information as we could have. And so there were so many unanswered questions of like, well, we don't know if we can do this, but if we can't do it if this isn't the answer. For example, all the walls needed to be knocked down. And if the walls couldn't be knocked down, then it wouldn't have made sense for a Pilates studio. And I was like, yep, landlord said that's fine. Like all the things, it was just like, yep. And everyone was
really
on board.
Just falling into place.
Yeah. And this is January, like mid-January. So when I think back on this, and as it's come out and as more people have gotten to hear the story about it, everyone's like, this isn't normal, right? And I really didn't know. Like, I don't know how any of this works. And so now I'm really able to like appreciate and value, and getting into, my faith. I really believe that like this is God like pushing me into my path throughout the journey. The three of us and I on my own as well, like have just been getting so many signs. Like I kept asking for signs. I mean, every time I look at the clock, it's like an angel number. The three of us, we're always like sending each other like pictures like, oh, here we go. And it's just the randomest things of like, I remember someone like randomly texted me one day and was just like, you should really open up your own studio. And it was just so many little nuggets like that of people randomly saying things to me. And it was just like hitting me like, oh my gosh, like I'm asking for these signs and I'm getting them. And it just felt like this push. And through the whole thing, which that this is so unlike me, I just felt like peace and calmness. I kept trying to question it. I kept like normal Chelsea would have been like freaking out at everything of like every aspect of this of like, how am I going to do this? I don't know how to do this. And like get on this whole like whirlwind of questions and doubts and anxiety. And I just felt like this overwhelming sense of God just being like, I got you. Like, this is what you're supposed to be doing. And I just kept praying on it. I kept having conversations with my parents, talking with Maggie and David and our business partners, and talking to a group of women at my church, my dinner group girls, that like I really confided in this. And I was like, please just like pray that wherever I'm meant to be, I'm led. And if this is something that I'm really meant to do, like, please, God, like lead me in that and don't let me too scared of it that I miss it. And that's just been this like overarching theme through every moment of this. So much of it's been so scary and like, how is this happening? And I don't know what I'm doing, but there's always been, and there still is, this deep rooted sense of peace and calmness amongst the chaos that I feel so clearly that, okay, this, I'm meant to be doing this right now in every way, that it's like the location, the people I'm doing it with, when and how and why, all of it seems like it's fully intertwined in the path that I'm meant to be taking.
Wow. Okay. There's so many things I want to comment on and unpack here, because you just shed light on so many important things. And one of them was a key concept of surrender. Surrendering and trusting the timing and the process, and that you're being led. And also just the fact that like your mind can run away. And you and I have had endless conversations about like the anxieties that come up with certain things. But when you feel that so deep in your gut that this is right, even if because your head will still try to be like, yeah, but what about this and this and this? But then your body isn't going into those doom spirals with you. It's not breaking out in hives. It's not like feeling nauseous or sick or anxious. You're not staying up all night. Like, you are really just at the end of the day in peace.
Totally.
That is such a tell sign, and even just a sign from the universe. But your body, your central nervous system calming down for you to just be like, I know this.
Yeah.
It might be a process that I don't understand. I have my own limiting fears and doubts that are going to creep in. And yeah, your mind, again, it's wired to tell stories. But what you feel in your body, and if you can tune in and trust that, I think that's the key here. Because also, this wasn't an overnight thing. You make it sound like, and then everything just fell into place.
Yeah.
It's not, because it took 6 years for you to navigate this. And I think that's very key, because some people might just be like, well, she was teaching here and then she did that and all of a sudden, boom. It's very easy to see it from that point of view. But the reality is, the amount of process you went through to get here, it's not that like, oh my God, wow, I'm just so lucky. No, Chelsea, you did the work. You did the work internally, externally. You grieved that heartbreak of that dream. You left out those relationships. You said no to the men that were not aligned with you. You got deeper into your faith. And even in this last year, you're so deep in your faith, and like you really tune in, you really trust your intuition, and that isn't easy, because you're saying no left and right to dates and men, and yeah, they might be good, but you know in your soul that they're not aligned for you. And yes, you want kids and you want to get married, but you're not going to settle. And I think that's what's key here.
Yeah.
And I think that's what people need to hear, need to see from you, because they see all the external, but that's not the reality of the internal. So thank you for sharing that and being very vulnerable.
Totally. And to go off from that, I'll be like a little bit more vulnerable. I want to say in like October, November timeframe. I remember so distinctly, we've talked about this, but I had taken like a 6-month no dating, no guys. Like,
I think I challenged you to do that.
Okay, Jojo, let's credit where credit is due. You sure did. No,
I don't need credit.
No, you sure did. And honestly, for listeners out there, it was such a growing, pivotal moment for me. Oh my gosh, highly suggest. And I didn't think I could do it. And we did it. And honestly, I would do it again and again. But I had come off of that, and then I had like stepped back into dating just a bit. And I remember, getting ghosted and just like getting no's from these guys. And I was broken. Like, I remember like late at night, just like crying out to God and being like, what am I doing wrong? Like, what is wrong with me? I spent all this time like readjusting how like the type of man that I want, the qualities in a person that I'm looking for, how I value myself, how I see myself, like who I am, what I can bring to a relationship, what I know that I deserve, what I know that I don't deserve. Like, I just spent all this time really getting messy with it and like digging deep within myself to figure out these things and like be very clear. And I was like, I feel like I got back into dating with this really strong mindset and headspace and just idea of what I was going to stand for, what I wasn't. And it was still leaving me empty. And it was still leaving me with like these no's and getting hurt by these like people that I was like, what is going on? And I just remember like I had a breaking point one night, and I was just crying out to God, being like, and this is when you said surrender, like this was like my pivotal moment of surrender. I was just crying out to him and like having a full moment, as us Pisces do. And I was just crying, and I was like, God, what am I doing wrong? What more can I be doing? Like, why is this still not working? Like, what is your plan for me? And I was teaching, I'm teaching 30 plus classes a week. Like, I feel like I'm at a good place in my career. I feel like I have amazing, beautiful friendships with my friends, with my family. Like, everything else is going well for me, seemingly. And I'm just like, I feel super strong in the woman, the person that I am, and like what I'm presenting to the world. And I felt so confident that I'm like, why do I keep getting knocked down by these guys? Why is like a relationship not working right now? Like, what is going on? Like, that feels like the next step. That feels like what I'm missing. So like, why? I just kept being like this cry, like, what is going on? And I surrendered in that. And, my friends that I've been walking through my faith with have really been like supporting me through that and being like, just like give it to him and like let him guide you. And I feel like once I had that moment of surrender and once I was in that headspace of like, I am not in control, I'm going to let him guide me and like, and show me what I'm missing. And that's when all of this, like that was in, I want to say that was in November and then like January. And now I'm like, oh my gosh, that I
That's
needed,
why.
that's why. This is all why.
Wow.
I know, a journey.
There is a purpose in pause.
I love that.
And it's not a pause for anything other than prep. It's preparing your vessel to hold what is meant to come your way. Because imagine you had been dating and focusing. Maybe you wouldn't have had the energy or the bandwidth to even focus on teaser. You would want to spend all your time with that person. And I hear you. I've played around with that same exact feeling of like, why isn't this working? Where is the whatever? But the reality is like, because you're building a foundation.
Yeah.
You're really excavating that ground so that something can be built on it. And that person is going to come in such perfect timing. Because as you've seen in your life, the creator, God, the universe, however you want to see this higher power and this bigger force that really truly does guide us. Like we can let fear and doubt and want to control and try to manipulate situations and do all we want. But at the end of the day, like we are the ones that need to let go of the reins. Because if we don't, we're actually blocking the blessings that are meant to come to us. Because if we hang on to those relationships, those people, those situations, those jobs, whatever that we think we really want, we're holding on so tight because we're scared that we're never gonna. Yeah, you can have a mediocre life, sure. But what if you were meant for so much more? And what if you stepping into uncertainty and completely the unknown, what if that is actually where your true purpose and your path unfolds?
Totally.
So let's get messy with this.
Let's do it.
Mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Mentally, what would you say are some limiting beliefs or self-doubts that were coming up in those in-between years when your purpose hadn't really fully manifested or shown itself yet?
I think just like this overwhelming sense of not being like good enough in so many different ways. I mean, just coming from the dance world in general, that's like a really intense industry of your looks, your body, everything. Like every moment is someone else is doing it better and looking better doing it. And so that's a whole conversation within itself. But it's like the looks, it's the body, it's in a relationship. Like why, for me, I was always like, why can't I have these successful relationships? And prior to my ex, my most recent ex, before that, as you know, that I had like a very toxic relationship. And I mean, the way that I was spoken to in that was just to rip me apart in every sense of like who I am. I feel like I came from that relationship and like really didn't have a voice. So that, I think now looking back on it, my fitness jobs and being able to interact with people and being able to like stand in front of a room and lead people and in, you know, as goofy as like little dance cardio classes or Pilates or boxing, like whatever the actual class was, being able to like stand in front of people and like feel like I have something to offer them or I have something to give them, or even just the sense of I can welcome people and make them feel safe and make them feel supported and loved and encourage them. Those experiences in every class that I've stepped into has given me this purpose and shown me like, it's really not about me. It's about how I can make others feel, and hearing how that impacts people and seeing how that impacts people has just been this really beautiful, like two-way street that has led me into my confidence and led me into my self-worth. But prior to that, I think it's been a lot of just like not good enough in any sense, not good enough. And my biggest thing, especially like my limiting self-doubts of starting a studio or being a businesswoman in general, I've just always told myself that I wasn't smart enough. And now looking back on it, I'm realizing that one, I'm smarter than I give myself credit for. And two, I get insecure when I don't know something. It's not that I'm not smart enough. It's just that I don't know it. And so this process of teaser and building teaser has been such an eye-opening experience because it's like, actually, I can figure out so many things. Like I can figure it out. And that's one thing, like my mom always says is I'm just like super adaptable, like
and resilient.
Love you so much. Thank you. But it's just, you know, I'm just going to figure it out. And sometimes I just need a little help or a little guidance, but I'm going to figure it out. And so it's not a matter of, you know, not being smart enough to do it. It's just that I've never done it before. And so I think that that was a big mental block for me of not being smart and just not being good enough.
Yeah. Wow. Very vulnerable. I love it. Let's go to emotional.
Okay.
So how do you stay grounded in the roller coaster that is life? And not like your emotions just kind of like take you away? Because there's so many, I mean, you're Pisces, you said it, you feel everything. You're all water. Your chart is all water, baby.
Oh, I'm all over the place. I'm starting to realize like how unique that is, I guess, and that like not everyone feels that way. Like, I mean, it could be anything. Like I could cry at a drop of a hat, happy, sad, tired. Like when I'm like really tired, it's not even that I'm sad. I just like tears will start to like fall just because I'm just like, that's just my body's way of releasing it.
That's actually really cute.
Tears will fall and I need a hug, and that's where I'm at.
I love that.
Emotionally, I think I'm getting better, but I'm a mess emotionally. I think my people hold me down, and most recently my faith. Like when I think that's one of like, I just wish everyone could feel this way, but we come in this world of being in control, and like so many of us feel the need to like be in control, make the things happen. And for me, it's that release of that and giving whatever I'm feeling, whatever I'm experiencing, whatever worries I have, whatever fears I have, and just like giving that up. For me, it's God, and just allowing that higher power to be in control and like lead. But I mean, happy, sad, stressed, confused, that's when I pray. Like I just need to have my time like with God, and I just literally give him my emotions. Wow. And it even like, it's when I'm stressed and when I'm scared and when I'm having those like very human moments of doubt, but it's also when I'm so happy and so grateful. Like there's been so many moments in this process where like I'll just think about what's about to happen, and I'll think about what it's going to feel like when I have like, I don't talk about it without crying, but like when I have people in that space and like getting to teach them and like what that means and like the impact that I'm going to be able to have and like the community that I'm going to be able to get built and give people. And like thinking of that makes me so emotional and so grateful that I literally feel like my heart could like explode out of my chest. And like those moments where I'm just like praising God, like, thank you for giving me this. So on my emotional journey, that's just when I sit and I pray. And part of, you know, where I'm at right now, even though, you know, I feel like I'm in a good place for a relationship and a partner and all of that. Like, I'm so grateful that this time has given me that sense of faith to know that like no matter where I am, to always come back to that, because it leaves me feeling so whole and so on track with my purpose, being able to just like be on this journey with God.
That's so beautiful. Okay, spiritually, you did touch a little bit on that, but I'm just curious, what are your specific signs and synchronicities that you see that you know that you're aligned? If you want to share with the class.
I do. I'm like, how much do I want to get into? So
you can just say, I see these numbers. I see that. It doesn't have to be anything crazy.
I mean, I'm definitely seeing angel numbers all the time.
Are there specific numbers for you, or?
It really varies. I see a lot of 222s. I see a lot of 555s. I see a lot of 444s, but I will still see 333s. And I'll still see 111s, but 2s, 5s, and 4s are like most of the time.
Well, 2s are new beginnings.
Work.
And that's also like business. 3 is a soulmate.
Oh, okay. Well, he's there.
Of course he is.
I think for me, when I really feel in check and in tune is that overwhelming sense of like peace and calm. And, you know, we've talked about this before, but I think so many, whether it's relationships or career or like friendships or whatever, so many of our journeys, you know, we're like squeezing out the answers and like really trying to like, well, what if they're saying this, but they really mean this? And like all the different possibilities and the ways that we could go about it and like turning these things into like squeezing out the answers. And
like really muscling the results.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I really feel like I'm in alignment with God's path when I feel that clarity, when I feel that peace. And when I look back at the past, like 2 years specifically, because that's kind of where I like re-stepped into my faith journey, everything that I have felt that's so strongly from God, like stepping into my apartment, everything with Teaser, relationships, big things, small things, have come with so much clarity and peace. And so I look at like, okay, this guy's making me question how he feels. That's not it. Like whatever it is, whether it's a conversation with someone that I'm really struggling with or feeling like, is this a relationship that I should keep? Is it something that I should walk away from, or whatever it is? If I don't have that overwhelming sense of peace, I have the confidence now to be like, that's not aligned to my purpose and that's not with God. Not saying you can't be stressed, not saying like those I keep saying like human.
Like taking over your life.
Right.
Like it's not pulling you down.
Right. I feel like deep in my soul, like there's no coincidence. That was too easy. That's from God.
I love that. I want to leave our listeners with one little thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's not always going to be the easiest path. We know that. But it's going to feel the most peaceful. And sometimes the most aligned paths take the longest to unfold. And you want that soulmate, you want that career, all of those things, they're coming. But if you're muscling all the way through, enforcing outcomes, it's not going to be what's coming from the divine timing. So trust and step into uncertainty and like step into just knowing, be okay with uncertainty, I should say, and like step into that you have certainty beyond logic that this is all going to work out for you.
Totally.
Well, Chelsea, thank you so much for coming on Inside Out.
Thank you for having me.
Where can people find you?
So you can find me on Instagram, Chelsea_McCloskey. Also at Teaser, new Pilates studio coming to Hoboken. You can find Teaser, www.teaser.studio, and also on Instagram at Teaser. It's TZR.studio.
And this will all be linked in the show notes below. You guys, give Chelsea a follow. Make sure you check out her studio if you are in the Northeast. And take the time to think about 3 people that you want to share this episode with who could hear this journey. Maybe they're going through a similar process, and send it to them. And you guys know where to find me at _insideout.podcast. I'll see you guys next week. Have a beautiful week, guys.
Bye.
Bye.